Well, that is a State of the Union address from President Trump, the greatest ever. And, of course, lots of adjectives out there in the first, 10, 15 minutes that we've been watching and hearing Donald Trump, the president of the U.S. But he has certainly shaken things up over the last 1 month or so since he's taken charge, and in a big, big way. Welcome to Bazaar Morning Call. We're coming to you from the CNBC TV 18 Moti Oswal studios. I'm Prashant. Surabhi and Nigel with me, guys. Hi.
Hi, morning, folks. I was just observing these guys. How many times did they get up? They love giving standing ovations, right? I think every second sentence you have to stand up. So it's good exercise, if nothing else.
Not short of action out there, no?
Well, a lot of action. And
on the field, guys, let's not forget the on-field action. We're in the finals while we're watching that important speech.
I didn't want to drift away from, what you all were focusing on. So let's focus.
Hold on to all our victories. Absolutely. Even the one that our boys in blue got us last night.
Let's hope the momentum comes on into the markets as well.
Yeah.
Great match. India's into the final, and let's hope that the Nifty as well does pretty okay. But Prashant, let's take stock.
Yeah, and I think the speech which is going on, what we'll do is we'll keep going back in and cutting. Our team is listening to the speech, and we will cut back in, because it may be a market-moving speech in any case. I mean, it may happen towards the end of the speech, etc. And essentially the reason is, last night, you had the Commerce Secretary, Lutnick, who essentially said that Trump may actually roll back the 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico. Will Trump announce that now? I mean, in that speech which is going on right now, and maybe somewhere in that he kind of throws in, he may not say, well, the tariffs are a day old, so he may not immediately cancel the tariffs, but he may provide a ramp off that, well, if these countries do this, the tariffs are essentially temporary and I'm going to take them back. By the way, the Canadian dollar and the Mexican peso both rallied on these statements from the Commerce Secretary last night. He's there, I mean, in those shots which are coming through from the U.S. Congress. Now, the big story was the drop in the dollar. The dollar index fell 1.1%. We're about 105.57 on the dollar. It's a bunch of things. And many people are wondering, what is the reason behind this big underperformance in the USD? And there are 3 or 4 reasons. Without going into all of them, what kind of stood out from last night was the big rally in the euro. The euro USD went up to broke above the 1.06. It's kind of broken out and taken out some technical levels. And the euro rallied because there were news reports that US and Ukraine will be signing that minerals deal. Germany is setting up a defense fund of some $500 billion and a few other things. Euro has got the largest weight in the broader dollar index. When the euro rallies, it depresses the value of the US dollar as we see it. And essentially, I think at the margin, that is what played out. But in any case, lower dollar is essentially what the Trump administration wants. And, so far it's kind of working out. Overnight equities, S&P was down about 1.25%, 10-year yield, about 5 basis points higher. The 10-year, by the way, swung 11 basis points. It actually first went down 6 basis points. It ended up 5 basis points. So complete seesaw is what we saw. The China National People's Congress begins today. It runs for 2 days, and we'll watch out for any headlines. I think the Hang Seng market is up about 2.5%. And, of course, the Chinese markets have done really well this year as the other markets have struggled. I'll just sort of wrap this up very quickly with, the levels for you. Nifty, and I've been saying this for the last 2 days now, broader markets, looks like there is a little bit of selling exhaustion. Volumes are on the upside. Volumes are not there on the downside. It's very evident out there. Not all portfolios may be recovering. I mean, lots of stocks in your portfolio will still be hurting. But the broader point is maybe we're at the point where you're getting a little bit of selling exhaustion. It may be temporary, but that is where we seem to be at. So near-term support for the Nifty stands at about 21,964. That is yesterday's low. But past price action suggests that 21,800 to 22,000, these were lows which were made between this zone in 2024. That's the broader, bigger support zone. Resistance is the 40-hourly, which is 22,302. For the Nifty Bank, it posted a positive daily close. Here, we need to cross the 40-hourly now. 438 is that number. These are very, very near-term levels. And then 48,550. And yesterday's low for the Nifty Bank is 47,841. That is the near-term support for the Nifty Bank out there. GIFT Nifty will give you a sense of how we're likely to start. But, of course, all of this is contingent to the man who's on air speaking. And we're listening to it. And as I said, we will cut back to it if there are any market-moving headlines, any announcements which are made. 60 points lower for starters. Guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is all eyes on the president, given what the Commerce Secretary said yesterday, the fact that there could be some sort of a rollback. And in fact, in his comments, Ms. Lutnick said that it could be announced as soon as Wednesday. Now, it may or may not happen in that speech itself. But maybe, the president gives some indication that he's still open to parlays around this. still open to negotiation and discussions. He's a man who loves deals in any case. So let's see if there's one coming with Canada and Mexico, at least, on tariffs. There was no specific mention of any rollback or any possibility of deals with China just yet. So let's see how that plays out. Asian markets are trading fairly mixed. But there's a hint of green across the screens because of this optimism that maybe this will settle. It can't be as bad as it seems right now. The Hang Seng's up about 1.5%. In currencies, it was not just the euro rallying yesterday. In fact, the yen, the Swiss franc, some of the safe haven currencies, they did extremely well because the U.S. market was going into this major slump. The comments from the U.S. Commerce Secretary came in after the U.S. markets closed, so the equity market couldn't quite react to it. The yen and the Swiss franc rose almost, 1% or so higher yesterday. The yen is retaining some of that gain, and it's been trading below that 150 handle for a while now. The euro in its rally actually has crossed 106 or 1.06 to the dollar. That's been the rise in the euro, which is interesting because while the currency was rallying, European equities were very, very weak yesterday. They were down anywhere between 2% to 3.5%, which was the German market. So very, very bleak out there. And the markets there are concerned about this rise in spending that the Eurozone as a group is now talking about, higher borrowing. It's the first time since COVID that the Eurozone is looking to borrow 150 billion euros as a group. So what does that do? That's also pushing up, by the way, long tenure bond yields in the Eurozone. Whether you're looking at the bonds or some of the other yields as well. Generally, those 10-year yields have been inching higher, while the U.S. yields were ending lower yesterday or were heading lower yesterday. The EU, the ECB, by the way, is meeting this week. So that's tomorrow. The wide expectation is that they'll deliver a 25 basis points rate cut. But now with all this talk of spending and maybe, a slightly more inflationary policies, let's see what happens. China, the headlines have actually started coming out. So the numbers are in and they're absolutely along expected line. 2025, China is expecting an almost 5% GDP growth. What they're saying is around 5%. That's the phrase they're using. The budget deficit has, that target has increased. That ceiling has gone up from 3% deficit to 4% deficit. And it tells us that China is keeping the options open of giving a further boost to the economy, stimulus, or of course, warding off the tariff wars as well. The inflation target in China has come down from 3% to 2%. So that just reflects the higher inflation in the country. Quickly coming back to our session here, it was, of course, a relief because at least we managed to recover from the lows. But the June 4 lows, they would perhaps still be in play given the volatility all around us. That's the fund flow picture. Foreign institutional investors were sellers 3,400. Again, DIIs more than offset that. Great DII buying. Second day running coming in today. And like I'm saying, those election day, result day lows are still in play, not too far away, 200 odd points on the Nifty. Let's see if we get there or not. 21,884 is at one level that I will keep in mind. Very quickly to talk about, if you're looking to play the F&O market, then you need to look at the dates very, very differently because all the dates are changing. The Nifty weekly expiry is now being shifted from Thursday to Monday. The monthly expiry also moves from the last Thursday of the month to the last Monday of the month. And not just that, all contracts, whether it's the Bank Nifty or whether it's the Fin Nifty, the Nifty Mid Cap Select, the Nifty Next 50, all of those contracts will expire on the last Monday of the month, so which is pretty interesting. All this is effective the 4th of April. So interesting. Not sure why they've done it, but Thursday to Monday becomes now the day to look out for volatility.
Well, I was just looking at a rough note in terms of market share. It appears BSE had higher market share on Monday, so that's why NSE is making a bit of a move on that front. But, besides that, yesterday the US markets were at the day's low. It was better that you focused on the cricket game, right? Look what Lutnick had to say this morning, the Commerce Secretary.
It's all different.
Maybe things will not be as bad as it seemed. Yeah. The US markets came off the lows and the futures right now are in the green. Positive. Well, let's take stock of the markets, though. In the recent past, the Nifty actually has underperformed. We're down closer to around 15% from the recent peak. So it appears, if you give and take everything, it appears the Nifty after this sort of a correction and with the tailwinds that we have, with lower crude oil prices, you have a softer dollar index, you'd have to be in the camp that the Nifty is closer to the lower end of the range in terms of a correction. And you may not be wrong on that front, just on the Nifty itself. Maybe the broader markets have some more correction, but just going by the data points we got and post that correction, the Nifty, it appears the valuations are more palatable and maybe we're at the lower end. Moving to the data points that we got post-market as the FI, actually the data in the F&O market is quite positive because yet again they added more longs than shorts. And even if you look at it, the client positioning as well, there were more longs than shorts that were added in yesterday's trading session. So both the FIs as well as the clients, they added more longs than shorts on index futures. What about on stock, on the Nifty as well as the Nifty Bank? The Nifty Bank yesterday was an outperformer. There was a bit of a short covering bounce that played out. And if we break up the FI data, it appears they're leaning more towards the Nifty Bank. So that will have to lead the way from here on. What about stock futures? Well, in yesterday's trading session, there was clearly a short covering bounce that did play out. They added longs yet again in yesterday's trading session, and the shorts did cover out. And as we have been stating, their long positioning on stock futures is more than 15 lakh contracts, and they continue to remain net long out there. Moving to the options data, two strikes were very, very active, 22,200 call, 22,000 put, fairly active. And you just need to punch in the levels, going by the technical levels, going by the options data as well. And it appears the Nifty, well, 21,800, if that holds, you'll have to say that somewhere around here, there should be buying. 21,800 to around 22,000 odd. The next level of resistance comes in at around 22,500. The Nifty Bank as well, this 47,500 mark is extremely crucial. And then you'll get more confident once it gets past that 49,000 odd mark. In terms of stocks that I'm looking at, two stocks. One is a stock that's moved into the F&O ban. That's Manappuram Finance. So I'll keep an eye out on this one. And as Subri mentioned earlier as well, I'll be keeping an eye out on BSE because NSE now they've gone ahead and changed the expiry date. So let's see if there's some kind of impact on BSE because it appears now NSE is taking the fight to BSE. So let's see how that goes.
It's cat and mouse, Nigel, right?
Yeah, indeed.
And I think there'll be more moves maybe now from the
from the BSE. Yeah, will they react to that?
It has to. Logically, they have to, right? Otherwise, they're left with fewer days to trade. So we'll talk more about this in greater detail